how does a 14-year-old boy end up on the streets?
So
I don't think we would ever learn that unless we found out through you.
so basically what happened is, it's fine if I start from like the beginning of my story?
Sure. Let's hear it from the beginning.
So when I was young, I lived with my mom and my dad, right? I was born in Inglewood, and we moved around a lot. I think we landed in Lancaster for the last year, but I was living with my mom and my dad till I was 3, right? So my dad was a drug addict and he was an abuser, and a bunch of things happened. And my mom called my aunt 1 month, and she said, "Help me! They're gonna take my kids away from me. They're gonna take my kids away from me. Can you get my kids?" And my aunt made a split-second decision. She said, "Yeah." So it was only supposed to be for 6 months, but we stayed longer than that. The weeks turned into days turned into weeks turned into days. Fuck, can't even remember, like decades. I lived with her for 10 years, and everything was going good. Like I went through a lot of stuff during that time, but I was still in a safe spot. I was in a safe situation. I was still going to school, but I was still getting into trouble. I was still stealing, I was still getting into trouble. I was still getting into fights for my siblings every day, so they didn't get their ass beat at school, And one day, I had ran away because I'm a habitual runaway, I done a lot the first time I ran away when I was 7, made it halfway down the block. This is the most recent time, and I just booked it. I said, I'm gone, So I left for like a week or so, and then halfway through that week, I was running across the 99-cent store because I was hanging out with some homeless people, right? And they were telling me, "Hey, we can get you a phone." So they gave me a fake ID. They told me memorize the numbers, everything on it. They told me to tell them there was a problem with Social Security number. So I walked down the street, right? And I get there, and the guy who was doing it was not. He was walking back. I asked him, "Are you guys still doing the phone thing?" He said, "No." And the 99-cent store was across the street, right? So I said, "Yeah, sure." It's a 99-cent store. I'm just gonna walk across, And the way the road was is that it's curved. So you can't really see anything coming in until it actually gets into the view of the road. And the cars, there's this like 18-wheeler parked right next to the road, so I couldn't see something coming inside. I run across the street. I look to my right, and I see an SUV coming 50 miles per hour. I got lucky. I should not be alive right now. I got hit from my right side. I grabbed on some bumper. We skid like 5 meters, and I was hospitalized for a week. No fractured bones, no broken bones. I was lucky. And then after that, I got home, and I asked my siblings, like, "Hey, do you guys miss me?" They said nothing. That broke my heart, bro. So basically, some more time goes on, and this is like the worst part. This is where everything really started to go bad. I was getting a cup of noodle soup from the garage because we had a little pantry in our garage, like this locker, it had all our snacks in it. And I asked my uncle, "Can I go get the keys so I can open the padlock to get a cup of noodle soup inside?" So I open the key, get the keys, open the padlock, go, and I walk into the kitchen. My sister's cooking burrito in the microwave, right? And we start arguing, and the arguing went further and further. And I had just gotten home from getting into a fight with a grown-ass man, so she didn't have to get her ass beat the next day. So I was already agitated, and she cut me like red, and I was like, fuck, I was already pissed. I was agitated. I wasn't doing what I was thinking. So I grabbed her, and I pinned her up against the cabinet, or wooden cabinet right next to us. And I reached behind in the drawer behind her. I put a knife to her throat. I said, "Do that again. Watch what happens." My uncle, my Theo Kenny, was in the backyard with his girlfriend and his friend. They came in. I had to stare down with my uncle for a hot minute, because I got bigger than him. It doesn't scare me no more. And he came in. He's like, "What you doing? Do it again. Do it again." And my aunt came down. This was like when it really started to go bad. My tia Gloria, she came downstairs, right? And she saw what's going on. She's like, "What the fuck?" And I had no parent disciplinary. She slapped me across the face. No cuts, no bruises, no bleeding. This girl ran outside, and my aunt, being the Hispanic woman she is, 50-year-old Hispanic woman, she chased after her because that's just how she was raised. My sister already knew what was going to happen. She should have just taken it. But no, she ran outside, and my Theo Kenny was stopping my aunt from going outside after her in the backyard.
Today's video is sponsored by Aura. It's a really important time to be talking about Aura because hackers have stolen the social security numbers of every American. Over 2.9 billion records were stolen from National Public Data, which offers personal information to employers, private investigators, staffing agencies, and others doing background checks. These stolen records include a person's full name, address, date of birth, social security number, and phone number, along with alternate names and birth date. And members of the hacker group have reportedly released this information for free online. I've had credit cards hacked, and I'm sure many of you have as well. If you weren't taking precautions with your personal information online before, this should be a huge wake-up call. You've never been more vulnerable online than you are right now. But I'm not too worried about it now because I use Aura. Aura alerts me if they find my phone number, email, or social security number on the dark web. They're going to let me know right away if anyone tries to use this information to access my credit or bank accounts. Plus, they give me up to $5 million in identity theft insurance should the worst case scenario happen. They also provide a bunch of other features to keep you safe online, all inside one app. I'm not leaving myself and my family vulnerable to data breaches. And if you don't want to either, you can go to aura.com/soft white underbelly to try 2 weeks for free. And now back to the video.
I saw after in the backyard, and I tried to push through it, and he pushed it away because that was my great aunt, my dear Gloria, his mother, and he pushed her, and her first reaction was like, "Hey, you're my son. How could you do this to me? How could you do this to me? What happened? I raised you, mijo." This whole thing. And my sister takes the opportunity to run upstairs. She runs into her room. She locks the door. So my aunt goes upstairs. She's knocking on the door. And my sister called the police inside. She lied to police officers, said that my aunt kicked her in the stomach and slapped her several times across her face with her phone. That night I ended up getting arrested for the first time. I was in juvenile hall for like 2 weeks, I got lucky. I should have been facing at least 5 years because that's a strike charge, And I got out, and after I got out, I was supposed to do probation. And I got out of probation. I did everything I needed to do. Then it came the drug abuse classes. So I went to this place in Lancaster, right? There's this place in Lancaster, it's just like a residential treatment center. It's like a rehab, And I remember getting pissed on the kids there, and I went up to one of their windows on the outside, because you can go on the windows for the rooms on the outside, and I hit it once, bam. Hit it twice, bam. Hit it a third time, it broke, shattered everywhere. I fucked up my hand up trying to do that. And I just did, because I didn't want to get caught by the cops again. I was not ready to do that again. And, I had walked down the street, right, and I met this group of skaters. And they were skating and shit. So I was like, "Hey, can I kill with you?" And then at the end of the day, they kept on trying to convince me to go back home. When I run away, a person trying to tell me to go back home is one thing, but when they start trying to force me to go back home, it's a whole different level. So I was like, "Y'all walking from the balance," I go to this open field, and there's these guys taking photographers. I said, "Hey, can I get a ride?" Because I was trying to go to LA, And they said, and there's this train, Metrolink, comes roaring by. And I was like, "Oh, shit." I was like, "Can you ride on those?" They said, "Yeah." They said, "Put a student ticket." So I walked down the train tracks all the way to get there. And I said, "Hey, I was just looking for the train, trying to go to LA, can I get a student ticket?" Yeah, and I didn't know how much it cost. Turns out the student ticket is free. So I rode all the way down to LA. I was in Skid Row for the first time. First couple of times I ran all the way to LA, I was in Skid Row, I met these group of Mexicans, and we were partying, But in the morning, I got my aunt to come pick me up because it was just a little bit too much for me. We were using those balloons, the balloons that make you feel woozy and shit. And in the morning, I ended up throwing up. I called my aunt to come get me, and as we're riding back, she tells me, she hands me this paper. She said, "Read this." It was on the table when we got back home. I had the entire state looking for me, and noticed to remove me from the property. And, I got taken away from my aunt. I got put home in a group home in Rancho Cucamonga. Now, this group home, it was good at first, and I was chilling with the people there. And I dipped a couple of times from there. I went AWOL so many times from there. And there's this one kid, I kept on getting into fights with him. And eventually just turned into a problem where I was not going to deal with this. Like, I'm trying to get my school done. I'm trying to get this done. I have a bunch of shit that I need to do. I can't be doing that if a bunch of kids are trying to fight me all the time, you know? And, you know, I just, the last time, and then one day I said, nope, I'm done with this. Hopped on a train I brought one of the kids with me, one of the newer kids to the group home. Brought him with me, got him all the way down to Union Station and left him. And that's the first time I came to Venice because I went down to Inglewood. And this guy told me I should see Santa Monica, right? I was in Santa Monica for a little bit. And then I met this one woman at a McDonald's. Her name was Rain, you know? And Rain said, hey, I'm going to go to Venice. I just got a lot of money because I just met a guy at a bar some night. You know, he was walking by and he just handed me $130. He was drunk as fuck, you know? And she takes me all the way to Venice. We walked all the way down to Venice. And you know, it turns out the place that she wanted to stay, they need ID from both the people. So I just gave her $50. I said, you have a good night. You know, I continued getting to know her. After that, we became good friends. And then I'm walking around, and I meet up with this one fool. Like, I'm a very chatty person, so I like to get to meet people, right? I meet this one guy, and he said, you want to go to Trading Post? So we walked down to the Trading Post. And as we're passing through there's this art studio. They were doing a big-ass event called Astro Odyssey, right? And there's one guy, Brandon, I know him very well now. He's a close friend of mine. He says, hey, you want to help out? So I said, yeah, sure. I grabbed a broom. I started sweeping. I even painted, painted white paint on the bar, you know. And we had fun, you know. And then at the end of the day, I was asking Brandon, like, hey, I need a place to stay. And he gave me this trailer. You know, the trailer had kids in it. It had a working stove. It had lights, but it didn't have a bathroom, no nothing. It was tight. It's smaller than a doorway, you know. And that's where I stayed for a couple weeks. And then I decided to call my family, you know. I got a phone, got an Instagram, and I decided to call my family, you know. And that's when they screwed everything over for me. That's when when I started finally getting to know my mom came to my door. She opened up, said, oh, we're just going to go right back. We're going to come right back. Because the agreement was she's going to come.
Your biological mom?
My biological mother. So the agreement was she was going to come. She was going to say hi. She's going to meet me. And then she was going to leave. No, she took me with some of my deals and my deals. Wouldn't let me leave. Got emergency placement with them so I couldn't leave. Lied. And then she lied to me a whole bunch of times. We got in a bunch of arguments. And the worst part she did, she lied, said I was suicidal, got me sent to a psych ward for like 3 weeks, and just lied again just to get me back out, just so she can send me back my ass to DCS. She was gone from my life for 12 fucking years, and she just 12, 11 years, and just shows back up trying to fucking control my life. No, that's not how it works, bro. I told her this not how it works. And she was trying to get all of her kids back. I'm like, you know, you're about to get evicted. What makes you think you're going to be able to take care of, like, 5, 6 kids, bro? You're not going to be able to. You have to scratch some meat on the table, you know? I told her that. I said, I'm done. I got a squabble with her boyfriend. He's a 24-year-old dude, like, about 6'9". No, fucking with you. Not 6'9". Fuck with you. But he's about, like, 6'4", right? Got a squabble with him. Police came, everything. And after that, like, I just been running around. I got locked up a bunch more times. I've been locked up 5 times since then, you know. And I lost 3 people this year. 2 of those people died in my arms, you know. I had a couple of homies that I lost, you know. And then I left. I went with a group home in Rialto, right? This is the best group home I've been through since then, right? And it was good for a week. And then one of the homies over there said, hey, we finna go to Utah. You want to come? So I was like, all right, I'm down. So we get to Venice, because I want to show everyone in Venice first. And he just leaves my ass, you know, he did. So I was like, all right, I know people here, he doesn't, you know. So I stayed in Venice, and I got to meet Daisy, you know. And Daisy, she's a wonderful woman, you know. She's a good person. She took me under her wing. We're about to get housing, you know. She's going to adopt me, or I'm going to get emancipated.
Yeah, you want to get emancipated.
Yeah.
Said.
And I just want to, you know, have a life. That's all I want. I share my things with everybody. All I ask people for in turn is respect. There are 3 things that are important in this world. Is respect, trust, and family. 4th is money, if you take it that far. You know, I learned that the hard way. I grew up through some sinister things, bro. I saw a murder scene last year, bro. Like, it's that bad. And, you know, like, I'm just trying to make it through, but I try to see the beauty in things of what happens in this life. Because if you don't take the time to make your situation better, what are you even there for, you know? If I get caught, I don't want to go back and say, oh, I didn't do just running around, fucking around the entire time. I want to come back and say, I accomplished something. I did something. When I see someone rolling down the street in a nice-ass car, I don't look at them and say, oh, they have nice things. I look at it and say, that's me. That's what I'm going to be in the future. I want to be driving that car right there, having that nice-ass house, you know? I started skating. I learned to skate in Venice now about 3-4 weeks in now. I took a break, you know, and I just got good. Now I can go up, go down, hit a 180, you know, just a lot of things.
Are there things that you want to do with your life?
I wanna be a Marine. You know, I wanna go frontlines infantry.
That might be good for you.
Yeah.
Did you ever feel like you were loved by your family as a kid?
Yeah, kinda. There were only 2 people in my family who actually loved me like that.
Who's that?
My tia Gloria and my tia Renee.
I'm sorry?
My tia Gloria and my tia Renee. My aunt and my uncle.
Your aunt and your uncle.
My great aunt and great uncle. You know, it's like mom's.
But your mom and dad were out of the picture and they weren't really involved in your life.
Most of my life, yeah. My dad, just no sign of him yet. I don't even know what his voice sounds like. My mom, she's just a complete asshole. And my sister, she doing a bunch of shit right now. She doing too much. She lying to the courts, bro. Everybody who's ever been nice for her, they're done something good for her, she backdoored them. I beat my sister's ass, and I don't regret it at this point because she kind of deserved it. Because people that bought her shit, people have given their time and their date to tell her some really personal shit, and she used it against them. She backdoored me. She backdoored her entire family. She's lying to all of us, and it's only a matter of time till, you know, shit happens. My sister lies like my mom, but she ain't dumb. Okay, we're that.
Are drugs a part of your life?
Yeah.
What do you use?
I use cannabis. I use tobacco, nicotine. Sometimes, if rare occasions, I'll take DMT, shrooms, LSD. You know, I drink alcohol. Yeah, that's about it. Just only psychedelics. Psychedelics is about as worse as it gets.
No crystal meth?
When I was younger, I think maybe 13, 12, I tried crystal at some point, and I saw what it was doing to other people. I was like, nope, I don't want to do this.
That's a good decision. School? How far did you go in school?
I got it to, last time I was in school was 8th grade, the end of the 8th grade, the week before 8th grade ended last year. I should be a freshman year now, but if I don't get my shit together now, I don't get in school, then I'll be a high school dropout, you know?
Yeah, you don't want that if you can avoid it. What happened that you have a scab on your mouth?
So I was trying to drop in from the end of the snake run at the skate park, and I actually fell, and I twisted around, bashed my face into the fucking half pipe, and fell on my back. My tooth went through my lip.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've been putting hydrogen peroxide on it to make sure the infection went down, you know.
Yeah, but your life on the streets, you haven't had any
squabbles?
Yeah.
No, I got into plenty of fights.
Yeah.
Right? Like the other day, someone tried to come up from me behind, you know, like a couple of days ago. He got me in the rib, and I've been getting into fights a lot. I skate, so I turned around, I went by, you know, right in the jaw. He fell to the ground, and his bitch is just standing there looking like, the fuck just happened, you know? Because I would hit him right here in the chin. There's a nerve right here. There's a nerve right here that cancels out the body. It will make you unconscious. So I hit her right there. He goes to the ground. His bitch is right behind him. She's like, what the fuck? You know? Did you go to the afterburn?
No.
No? Do you know what the afterburn is?
I don't.
So the afterburn is the after party of Burning Man. They have it every year here in Venice. And I went to their Sunday and Saturday night. You know, I was helping out, checking bags, checking gates, bumping that lowrider tank, you know. And they gave me DMT and shrooms there. And the next morning, I woke up in some random 30-year-old Mexican lady's back. I'm like, where the fuck am I? Who the fuck are you? I'm 14. You're like 33. How the fuck did I get here? No.
You're living an interesting life for a 14-year-old.
And in LA in general, girls, no disrespect to the women who are going to probably be watching this, but girls are thirsty as fuck out here, bro. Like, I lost my virginity in that skate park. I fucked like 30 women since then, all between the ages of 18 and 33. I'm like, how the fuck do I keep myself in this situation? So I'm like, damn, you know? And, you know, I've always had to, like, use my mind. I always had to be resourceful. You know, how I make money, I go around asking people on the boardwalk if they have cigarettes. So I see someone, like, smoking a cigarette, I ask if I have extra one. I say, like, but I don't smoke them. I say about, like, 30, 20 of them, you know? And then I sell it and make about $40 off that, you know? You just got to keep a hustle. It's always about the money. You always got to think about that.
Where do you sleep, typically?
I sleep, before I started sleeping in Daisy's tent, I was sleeping on the beach, you know? If not, then someone was offering me a place to stay just for the night, you know? And back about my mom, that's another thing she ruined for me. Someone's giving me a place to stay for the night, not just for the night, like permanently. And my mom called, and she told him to call the cops, get me high so I didn't know what was going on, just so I can go back with her. You know how, like, fucked up that sounds? Especially from my own mom. Like, that shit hurt.
You don't want to go back to your family?
Nope. Because, I mean, honest, my family is trying to tear each other apart. When this all goes to shit, I don't want to be a part of it. They're trying to get me in trouble for something that happened over, like, 20 years ago. I'm like, what the fuck, you know? I know I made mistakes that night, my sister, but that doesn't mean I am the reason for the downfall of this family, you know? Like, y'all did some shit before I was even born, bro.
But, like, you know, the knife incident with your sister, you weren't really serious about doing anything with her. You were just...
I was just agitated, you know? My brain snapped into fight mode, you know? I wasn't thinking.
But you're not violent?
No. Typically, I'm not violent. I try to avoid situations.
Sometimes you are?
I can be.
Yeah.
I can get very aggressive, but it takes a lot. Because I learned a lot of things, and violence, the only thing that violence is going to do is either...
Well, living on the streets like this, you probably have to resort to violence sometimes.
Yeah. I've had to throw sand in people's eyes before just to get them off me, you know? And it does get bad at here, you know? Like, homelessness is a really bad problem in California in general, but people got to take it under their understanding. A lot of these people who are out here on the streets, they've been through way more than we can even comprehend. So while you're sitting there in your soft, nice, white bed with both parents who get a warm meal every day, you always got to think there's someone struggling out here. So when people look down on homeless people on the streets, you know, I'm like, what the fuck, you know? Actually, they're not even homeless. Technically, homeless isn't even a thing. They're just going back to our roots. We've been sleeping on this earth before we had beds, had couches. So they're just living naturally.
Good point. How would you compare Venice Beach to Skid Row?
Venice Beach to Skid Row, the first thing is that the culture is very different.
Yeah.
People are a lot more laid back here, and a lot more people will care. But because Skid Row in general is just bigger, it's a lot harder to get things done. Like, the hustle is 24/7 there. You get to chill out here. But yet again, the culture is, like, just so much more vibrant in Venice Beach than it is in Skid Row.
Yep.
Like, Skid Row, you have to pay attention. Venice, you just have to look around, you'll find something.
Yeah, a lot more snakes.
Yeah.
On Skid Row.
Yeah.
It's dangerous down there.
And they had a lot of rats. I saw this massive ass rat, like, this big. I'm like, what the fuck?
That's Skid Row?
Yeah, I was like, this rat gotta be tasting like PCP or some shit, cause I don't know what I'm doing wrong. That rat is over there sitting in his little fucking hole in the wall, just going 20, 30, 50. Yeah. I was like, the fuck am I looking at right now? That rat taking steroids. I swear to God.
Do you have friends?
Yeah, I have a lot of friends.
You do. You have people you trust?
Yeah,
mean,
especially in Venice.
Daisy seems cool.
Yeah, I trust her. You know, a lot of these people here in Venice, I consider less of friends and more like family to me, you know? Lost Boys, All Good, Daisy, Brandon, Old Leg, all of them people, Diablo, like everybody, I consider, they're like family to me, you know? Because I didn't really have my family. You know, a lot of these kids grow up and they just don't truly understand what's going on, the truth about everything. So it's easier to understand like why they act the way they do, but I'm also grateful everything I went through. Because if I didn't go through everything I went through, you think I know everything I did now? No, I grew up in the hood, you know. I've been gangman like Ghost Town Chris, Pomona Avenue, North Side. You know, like I got jumped in by one of my own homies, you know. By a homeboy. I got jumped in by the homeboy, you know? And it's like, that's not what I want to do with the rest of my life. I don't want to be stealing. I don't want to be robbing, jacking niggas for their shit because I don't have nothing to feed myself. And that's just not the way I want to live my life. That's why I'm trying to get emancipated right now so I can stop dealing with all this bullshit. I start dealing with the system.
What would you like to be doing right now? You want to go back to high school?
Yeah, I want to go back to high school. I would like to be getting, like, my own place. I like to just live my life, you know? I just want to be able to be happy without any worrying. Like, say I'm smoking a cigarette walking down the block, right? Someone says, hey, why you smoking cigarettes, fool? You too young. And you know what I told them to that situation? Act like you weren't doing the exact same shit when you were my age. And they walk off. They don't say nothing because they know I'm right. I learned to pick up on certain cues. Like the other day, I was walking down with someone down the boardwalk because I have a conversation with them. And randomly, they just go, well, you have a good day. I got the message that they had shit that they needed to do and they needed to leave it alone. No further words needed. I just walked off. You know, just you have to pick on certain cues, certain respect. Like, the respect is just the most important thing in this world.
What kind of lessons are you learning living in the streets at 14?
Some of the lessons that I'm learning is, like, you know, you just gotta be careful. You just gotta be careful, like, expect the unexpected and don't get your hopes up until you know that thing is gonna happen for sure. Like, even this, I wasn't getting my hopes up because I didn't know whether I'd actually be doing this or not. Like, it could have been scheduled but never done, you know? Same thing with me getting emancipated or adopted. They could just be saying that just to get my ass in a situation where I can be scooped up, sent back to that group home, you know?
You don't want to go back to the group home?
No, I don't want to. Like, it's a good place. You know, that group home was a good place, but it's just generally not what I want to be doing with my life, you know? I want to live a happy life. So when I'm an adult, I don't just say, oh, yeah, I grew up in my parents' house, this and this and that. I want to say, this and this happened to me, this happened to me, this happened to me. This is the type of person I am today. I want to look back 20 years from now and say, this is not when I was having the most fun in my life. This is when I started having fun in my life, you know?
Yeah, you're living a very unusual childhood compared to most kids.
And I wish, like, none kids my age my age or younger ever had to go through this shit I'm going through. I wish, bro. Like, if I could go back to when I was oblivious and young and fucking dumb as fuck and just playing on my PlayStation all day, just fucking listening to my siblings gab and fucking yap their asses off about some fucking football game or some shit. I'll do all that. I'll drop all this shit in a split second just to go back to that kind of life. Sometimes I want to travel back in time, but not to change things, just to live through things one more time, you know? Just to rethink about what happened to me, you know, my story, what I've been through. That's why I fucking love Venice, bro, because I can be myself here. I don't have to worry about no one saying shit. If anybody does, I already know what to say to them, you know?
All right, Billy. Thank you so much for sharing your story.
Yeah.
And I hope something works out. It looks like Daisy is your best bet right now.
Yeah.
Right? She's kind of taking you under her wing.
Yeah.
Even though she's homeless. But that's better than nothing, I guess.
At least I have someone.
Yeah, that's true. All right. Thank you, Billy. Even though Soft White Underbelly consists of a lot of videos, it's really still a photography project to me. And if you appreciate the photography, sometimes it's difficult to enjoy it when it's scrolling down the screen, which is the only option I had in this horizontal format on YouTube. So last year we came out with the first Soft White Underbelly book, which is a collection of the best portraits from the thousands of interviews I've done. Each portrait in this book is accompanied by an interesting quote from the person's interview.
Oh my God.
There's more.
Wow. These aren't as bad as I thought. I look like a witch.
I will not be reprinting this book when it sells out. So once it's gone for good. You can order yours at softwhiteunderbelly.org. $125, $150 for a signed copy. And thank you for watching.
I hope someone will volunteer to come and fuck me. This is getting ridiculous. Please be 35 or older in the New Orleans area and able to come during the daytime, preferably in the morning. And I'll show you a good time. I promise. I have new lingerie. So come over here and fuck me. I know you want to. Everybody wants to fuck a sexy older woman. Well, I am sexy and I am older. So come on over, honey. I'm rather uninhibited. You know, you ask me anything, I'll answer. What the heck? The worst thing that'll happen is you won't like my answer.
At your age, you don't worry about that stuff anymore, do you?
I don't. It's very interesting that when you get to a certain age, where I'm at right now, I'll say anything I damn well want.
How old are you?
I'm 72. I'll be 73 in November.
72. And you're an OnlyFans girl.
I am an OnlyFans girl. I'm in the top 1%.
That's impressive.
It is impressive. I impress myself every day.
Where did your life start? You weren't an OnlyFans girl your whole life, obviously.
No, I was just a regular human being, you know, working regular jobs.
What kind of work were you doing?
Secretarial, generally. And then I got a job offer in San Diego when I lived in Seattle. And the company paid to move me to San Diego. And I thought, it'll probably be the last job I'll ever have. I'll retire from this job. And a year later, I was laid off. And I was 55 years old.
You were a good secretary?
Yes, I am very good. I'm very organized. I'm very efficient. I can do lots of things at one time. And I type 90 words a minute. I also do bookkeeping. And so I had lots of talents, which is why I got hired by that San Diego company. But then when I got laid off, I lived off my unemployment and my savings.
You were laid off at what age again?
55.
55.
And finally, it was like, okay, I either have to move back to Seattle, because I lived there for 40 years and I had a network so I could get a job there, or I have to find something else to do, because the only jobs I was getting offered in San Diego were like $10 an hour, and my power bill was higher than that. And so someone I knew suggested that I do full-body sensuous massage with happy endings. And I said, gosh, that sounds nice. What is it? Because at that point in my life, I had not had sex in 12 years. And so he explained what it was. And I said, oh, hell, I could do that. And so I ordered a massage table from Amazon.com and then put an ad on Craigslist back when they had the erotic section offering massage. And in 4 days, I had 25 appointments. And I thought, okay, that answers 2 questions. One, there is a market for a woman my age. And 2, 25 appointments in 4 days is too many. And so I took 3 days off and built myself a business plan, deciding how much money I have to make every month to keep body and soul together, and divide it by my hourly rate, and that's how many clients I had to see every month. And I would keep track on a daily basis so that I knew I was always on track. And I was very successful in San Diego. And then, but I discovered that there's only a small population of men that want full body sensuous massage, with a hand job at the end. What they were really asking for was full service. And I thought, well, I don't know if the port's open. I might be a born again virgin. Things could have shut up. I don't know. But I thought, well, let's give it a go and see what happens. And so I had a full service client, and everything just worked fine. And when we got done and he left, I thought, man, I'm not going 12 years without sex again. I didn't realize that I had missed it that much. Because over the course of time with women, this just doesn't happen with men, but with women, if you don't have sex over the course of time, your hormone levels decrease, so you're not craving it. And so like in the 12th year of my celibacy, I only masturbated 1 time. And I only did that for upkeep. It wasn't for desire. I could have just gone the rest of my life without sex. And then I got into sex work. And so that changed my mind. And so, because I love sex. I always have loved sex. But anyway, so I'm doing full service, and I lived in San Diego for 6 years, and then I moved to New Orleans and started doing sex work there. And in both places, I would end up with about 100 regular clients. And they would just see me over and over and over again. And I got to know them, personally and about their families. And many of them, I knew their birthday. So when their birthday came around, they got a freebie, because I like to treat my guys right. And then COVID came around. But just prior to COVID, I had a medical scan. And it showed that I had, a number of things. But the biggest thing was I had a abdominal mass. And it had to come out.
I used to do Google searches for my own name, and I was always really disturbed what I'd find. Seeing my personal information out there for anyone to grab, it's just uncomfortable. That's why I've started using Aura, the sponsor of today's video. Aura not only shows me which data brokers are peddling my info, but also takes action by sending opt-out requests on my behalf. Data brokers are making a fortune by selling our personal information to anyone willing to pay for it. It's not just harmless information and marketing stuff. They're selling everything from your email, home address, to your health records, even details about your relatives. Cleaning up my digital footprint isn't just avoiding scam emails. It's about protecting myself from potential hackers who could exploit that information and wreak havoc on my life. And recently, AT&T revealed that over 73 million customer records of both existing and former customers were released onto the dark web. They recommend those affected use strong passwords, monitor account activity, and consider credit freezes or fraud alerts from credit bureaus. Well, Aura does all of this for me. And best of all, I don't have to download several different apps just because a company couldn't keep my data secure. If my info was compromised in the AT&T data breach, I wouldn't worry because Aura is always on, always doing the hard work of keeping me safe. From antivirus protection to VPN and password management, Aura's got it all covered. It's like having a digital security guard on duty 24/7. I'm too busy to deal with this stuff, but with Aura, I can go about my day knowing that my privacy is being safeguarded, leaving me free to focus on what really matters. So if you value your privacy as much as I do, go to aura.com/softwhiteunderbelly to start your 14-day free trial. The link is in the video description box below. And now back to the video.
And so I knew that I would be unable to work for 6 weeks. So I had to do something else. I had to have some other source of income while I'm recuperating from this surgery. And people had mentioned lots of different places online that you can make money. You know, cam girls, things like Southern Charms. I can't think of the other ones right now. But I went to OnlyFans and I stuck with that because they don't dictate how much content you have to put up. That's up to you. And the percentage they take is only 20%. So if you make $10, you're going to get 8 and they're going to get 2. And so I thought, okay, I had lots of pictures, you know. And so I put up a bunch of pictures and I made a couple of videos. And of course, nothing was happening. You know, because if you're on OnlyFans, you don't automatically get people that are going to come looking for you. They don't even know you exist. So I made this little video. It's like 54 seconds long of me in lingerie, basically saying, hey guys, if you're in New Orleans, you know, come over to my house and fuck me. I'm not paying you. You're not paying me. We're just going to have a good time, and I'm going to post it on my OnlyFans page. And I put that on my Twitter page. At the time, I only had 239 followers, so I figured it's just this captive audience, you know, here in New Orleans. Next morning, I wake up, and my Twitter account has blown up, and I've got over 2,000 followers. And I thought, how the hell did that happen?
And this offer was for free?
Yeah, for them to come. They had to agree to be filmed.
Oh, I see.
You know, because I'm posting that film on my OnlyFans.
Oh, so you got partners.
Yeah, you know, but they don't have to pay me, and I'm not going to pay them. And so I checked my notifications on Twitter, and I found this rapper, who I don't know who he is, who had made kind of a negative comment about my little video. And because of that comment, it went viral. And so the last time I checked, over 5 million people had viewed it. And some people were making fun of it. In fact, there was some guy who has a YouTube channel that I was like the butt of the joke. And that was hurtful for me. I don't want to be the butt of anybody's joke. It's like I do what I do because I have to support myself and I have to support my disabled son. And, you know, if you're not part of the solution, then, honey, you're part of the problem, and just get the fuck away. Leave me alone. And so, anyway, it went viral. I ended up in February of 2020 having 3,115 fans on my OnlyFans page. And at that time, they were paying $12.99 a month. And so in the month of February 2020, I earned $31,000 for that month on OnlyFans. Now in March of 2020 is when I had my surgery, where they took the mass out. And it was a brick-size growth on my left ovary, which is the only ovary I still owned. And the ovary was the size of like 2 eyeballs. And it was like, you know, many times the size of 2 healthy ovaries. And the growth was also adhered on the other side to my bowel. So a surgery that should have taken about an hour took 4 hours. They took photographs of it, which they showed me in the recovery room. And that mass they took out was 1 pound. It weighed 1 pound. But it was not malignant. And they took out the bad ovary. And 6 weeks later, I go to the doctor for my checkup, and he goes, "Are you having like night sweats or hot flashes?" And I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "You're in menopause." And I said, "Again? I went through this at 38 when I had my hysterectomy." And he goes, "Yes, again." And so he put me on estrogen, you know, so that the hot flashes and night sweats would go away. Well, thank God for that. But it's like my mother also had gone through menopause twice. She had the same thing that happened. She had a mass on one of her ovaries after she'd had a hysterectomy. They left her ovaries in, you know, for the hormones. But I just thought that was so weird that we both had the same thing. But in her mass, when they cut it open, there was a human tooth in there. Yeah, isn't it weird? There wasn't anything in mine. But I just thought, wow, Mom, we have that in common. And so I had my surgery, and then I had to, wait 6 weeks before I could film anything again. And, of course, the guys on OnlyFans are chomping at the bit. When are you going to put more content up? And it's like, I'm recovering from surgery. Give me a break. And so now I've had my OnlyFans for 4 years. And I think it was like in September or October of 2023, I got contacted by a management team wanting to manage me. And I was doubtful. I was skeptical. I had a whole lot of questions. And so they answered everything, and I said, okay, the worst that'll happen is this will not succeed. So I went ahead and signed a contract with them, and we started my second OnlyFans page in November of 2023. And I make all the content, and they handle the back end. And I've got 4,100 fans on that account. Now, on my original OnlyFans account, I only have 219. Those are the ones that have kind of been with me since the beginning, but every day there's somebody that signs up, which is interesting because on my new OnlyFans, your first month is only $3, okay? On my old OnlyFans, it's $9.99 a month regardless. And so they go to the one that's cheaper and decide for whatever reason, no, they don't want that one. They want to go to the other one. So they pay me $9.99, and then they complain because there's no sex videos on that page. And I tell them, in order to have a sex video on OnlyFans, you have to have a model release for everybody that's in the movie, the video, other than you. And all the videos that I had done with other guys, they don't want to sign the model release because there's other things that go with it. You've got to produce your driver's license. You have to do a selfie holding your driver's license. You have to give them your social security number. You know, they don't want all that stuff because of the Ashley Madison scandal that happened. If somebody was to hack OnlyFans and get all that information and put it out into the public, there's a lot of married men out there that their wives are going to find out about it. They don't want that. And so all of my boy-girl stuff could not go onto OnlyFans. However, on my new OnlyFans, we have a workaround. We have an outside link. So if they want sex videos, they can pay for them, and they get the link. And so that way, you know, I can use the sex videos because, I mean, they're there, and it's not like it gets old. You know, I've got 2 professional porn movies that I did when I was 58. And nobody complains that, oh, you know, you're 72 now, this is 58, you should do something more recent. And it's like, honey, it's porn. You know, ever seen Deep Throat? It's been around forever, and it's still good. You know, it gets the job done.
How much do you make a month now?
Oh, gosh, now I'm making between, last month, April, I made $49,000. And so if everybody sticks around after their initial $3 first month, then they're going to pay $20 a month. So then it would be $80,000. But looking at the grand total, that's what's really important. I've made like $180,000 since the end of November 2023.
Like 6 months?
Yeah, not quite.
Not even 6 months?
Not even 6 months. And we've had 2 different teams of chatters, people that take care of the back end, and now they're hiring a third one, a different one, actually who's based in L.A., and so I found that interesting. And they take a lesser percentage because everybody, you know, is taking a cut. Mm-hmm. You know, my manager takes a cut and the chatters get a cut, which is fine because I figure if you're making nothing, splitting it isn't a big deal. Well, if you're making a whole lot of money, splitting it shouldn't be a big deal. I only need so much money every month. I'm not greedy. I'm grateful for every dime I make. I'm grateful for every man that wants to see me naked.
But you're making about $1 million a year now, right?
About, yeah. I don't get to keep it all because it gets divvied up. But, you know,
You're doing a whole lot better than you were.
Oh, my God.
When you were
my life
secretary?
is so much easier. So much easier.
Did you ever think you'd become a sex worker?
No. Never. I accepted Christ as my personal Savior when I was 16. You know, I got involved in a religious cult when I was 19. And I got married within that cult when I was 21. And, a holy roller, preach it, sister, that kind of stuff. And I mean, to this day, here it is more than 50 years later, if I see an ambulance, the first thing I go is, oh, Lord Jesus. I mean, it's that ingrained in me. And I was lucky enough to get to the point mentally where I can have a relationship with God and be a sex worker. Because honestly, I don't think God cares. And I don't think he's a bigot. I don't think that he is prejudiced in any way. I don't think he thinks that people only become sexual the moment they get married. I think that God is much more forgiving than most people give him credit for, or give her credit for, because God could be female.
Being a sex worker, you get all kinds of, there's a stigma connected with it.
Oh, there is, but it was interesting to me because over the course of the 13 years that I did escorting work, I had a number of ministers that came to see me.
I'm sure you did.
I did. I had some police officers. And I remember when I lived in New Orleans, I was sitting on my front porch and I was waiting for a client to show up. And a police officer walked through the gate and up the stairs. He goes, I'm your 1130. And I brought him in my house and in my bedroom, and I closed the door and I looked at him and I said, well, honey, I don't rightly know what to do with you. And he said, I have a really bad back. He explained his situation. And he said, and because my job as a police officer is to stand at the courthouse all day, my back's killing me. I need a massage. And I said, okay, get undressed on the table. And I massaged him and then flipped him over and I asked him, would you like a happy ending? And he said yes, and so I did. And he came back the next day again. And I had another guy that came to see me in New Orleans, and I always ask what you do for a living. And the reason I do that is because they might have a job that I need, okay? I've hired electricians, painters, landscapers, all that were clients of mine. Because, they're paying me, why shouldn't I pay them? And so I asked this guy what he does for work, and he goes, do you want me to lie to you or tell you the truth? And I said, oh, I always want you to tell me the truth. And he goes, I'm a police officer. And I said, really? Where? And he said, Division 1, Vice Squad. And I said, how interesting. And then we had our session. It's just bizarre. Now, you don't want to do that in San Diego because if a cop comes at your door, he's there to arrest you. They're very picky there. But in New Orleans, doesn't matter.
There's got to be a downside to being an OnlyFans girl.
Downside.
I mean, like the social.
Well, yeah.
Your friends
if
and
you're going to be
neighbors,
a sex worker, you're going to have to expect that you're not going to have close friends because they're not going to understand what you're doing. And in my case, your family disowns you, except for my son, of course. People frown upon it. And I think it's because they're afraid of it. Many wives, they don't want their husbands jerking off to other women. They consider it cheating. And, my attitude about that is, honey, if you don't want to do him, well, you expect him just to hold it? That stuff's got to come out. I mean, it's a biological fact. Sperm only lives for 72 hours. And if it just stays in there, eventually it's going to either come out voluntarily or involuntarily, or it'll be absorbed back into the body, which is not the most healthy way. Men that masturbate or ejaculate in one form or another 3 to 4 times a week are less likely to get prostate cancer. That is a medical fact, according to the British Medical Association Journal. And so, I always encouraged my clients to jerk off as much as they could, because if their wife isn't giving them sex, they got to get it somewhere, and most men can't afford to go see an escort every day. So take care of it yourself. Go into the shower. But there's a lot of wives out there that they come into the bathroom and, well, stop doing that. And it's like, really? I don't understand it.
Are you happier now?
Oh, yes. I'm much happier. I don't have to worry about money.
That's a big.
And when you have to worry about whether or not you're going to be able to pay the mortgage or buy food, or, if something comes up, like, recently my car died on me, and we live in the middle of nowhere, and there's no Ubers, there's no lifts, there's no cabs. So if you don't have a working vehicle, you have to walk. And then I told my son, I said, we have to get a second vehicle. I can't live like this, because it made me feel trapped, powerless. And I don't like that feeling. I had that feeling for most of my life, and I don't like it. And so we went on the hunt, and the car got fixed. It was a starter, but we were without the car for 4 days. And so we finally found a 20-year-old Ford truck that only had 89,000 miles on it, and I paid cash for it, which I'm able to do because I make so much money on OnlyFans. I kind of hated to see that amount of money go out of my bank account, but the fact that it only had 89,000 miles on it and it's a 20-year-old truck, it's hardly driven. And so now we've got the truck. And my son is very happy because he really wanted a truck.
Are you okay with the trade-off? Like, so you've lost some friends and family,
Yeah.
but your financial security is much better.
Yeah, I'm okay with it. I still have some close friends from high school, but they don't know what I do. Or if they do know what I do, they either don't care or they're just not going to bring it up. How does one bring that up? I do know that about a year and a half ago, my viral video ended up on Facebook. And someone I knew, it was my dog groomer, saw it. And she goes, "This is you, right?" And I said, "Yeah." And she goes, "Well, it's all over Facebook." Oh, shit. But nobody that I'm close to mentioned it. And so they're either okay with it or they don't care, or they have enough graciousness to know that if I'm doing what I'm doing it for a reason. I'm not doing this for grins and giggles, okay? And there may be women out there that are, I'm sure that there's women that just like to show off their stuff and, and they get a big high from it. And that's not me. I do like it when men compliment me. I like that a lot. If a man tells me, "You're so pretty," oh, that just warms my heart. But the reason it does is because when I was growing up and I was a teenager, my mother told me, she goes, "Mickey, it's a good thing you have a personality because you sure don't have any looks." And I thought to myself, what kind of a mother says that to her daughter? That is mean. And that I carried that with me for years. And I thought I wasn't pretty. And it wasn't until I got into sex work that I discovered that I am. I may not be pretty to every man, but that's okay. I don't need every man. I only need a certain percentage. And to that percentage, I am desirable and attractive, and they don't mind that I have some extra weight on me. I don't have to be, stick thin. I have guys on Instagram all the time asking me to marry them. And, yeah, right, okay. It's like, I'm not going to marry somebody off of a direct message on Instagram. That's not going to happen. And normally I just sort of ignore that because what they're actually trying to get me to do is to engage with them and then ultimately video chat with them so that they can get off for free. I don't do anything for free. There's no reason to. Not unless I'm, like with my boyfriend or something, he would, Of course, I don't have a boyfriend now because I broke up with him, but of course he never had to pay for anything. Because, you see, I lived 68 years without him. So guess what? I can live the rest of my life without him, too. That's called maturity. And I sure wish that I'd had that years ago before I got married 4 times.
You've been married 4 times.
4 times. And it's like I never learned. It was the darndest thing. But I was looking for somebody to save me. You see, this is the thing.
In a one-sentence description, describe your 4 husbands.
My 4th husband was a male to female transsexual, but I didn't find that out until way later.
And your 3rd?
My 3rd, that was Dick, and he was a dick. I was married to him for 10 years, and he was a control freak. And he kept me away from all my friends and family. Everything had to be just so. I mean, I'll give you one example. He came home from work one night, and I'm cooking dinner. Dinner has to be ready at 6 o'clock on the dot, and it has to be brought to him on a plate in the bedroom. I'm dishing up his dinner. He's in the bedroom hanging up his sport coat, putting down his briefcase, and he screams, "Michelle!" And I go running down the hall because you don't want to make him wait. And I go, "What?" And he goes, "One of my shirts is hanging in the wrong direction." And I looked at him and I said, "What is the proper direction for a shirt to hang?" And he turns to me and he goes, "Michelle, what the hell's wrong with you?" And I said, "Dick, you've asked me that question so many times, and I finally have an answer. You are what is wrong with me." And I said, "You don't like the direction that shirt is hanging? Then turn the fucking thing around. Your arms are not taped on." And then I went and got his dinner and gave it to him. Sorry, I don't mean to yell, but man, that guy, he triggers me.
What was your 2nd husband?
Rod. I met him at work. He was an engineer.
Just a short description, though.
Short description.
One sentence.
Hippie. That couldn't hold his liquor. He was an alcoholic. He killed a woman while he was driving drunk. And he committed suicide on July 29th, 1986.
Wow. And what was your first husband?
Oh, that was the religious cult guy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there wasn't love there. We were basically kind of told we needed to get married because there was too many single young people, and they were afraid that promiscuity might result. And so both my first and second husbands, I was married to them for 2 years, 2 months, and 1 day. My 3rd husband, 10 years. My 4th husband, I was married to him for 2, but I was with him for 3, and he left me for a man and took everything I owned when he left.
Is the cost of living just so high for everyone in the country?
It is.
That women of all ages are resorting to OnlyFans just because it's a way to make really solid money.
It is, but too many women think that all they have to do is put up a page and that, the men will come flocking.
It's a lot of work, right? It
is a lot of work. I've had so many women that have contacted me asking me for advice. How do you do this, And I tell them, you have to work this. You have to find your niche, and then you have to market it. But you've got to be real careful because you can't mention OnlyFans on Instagram because they will suspend you. And there's a lot of places that you can't mention OnlyFans. There's ways around it, but you have to be able to market it. Like I've had Latinas contact me, and I go and I look at their page to see what they have. And I get back to them and I say, okay, first of all, you have 5 pictures and 1 video, and your OnlyFans is in Spanish. Only 7% of the people on the internet speak and read Spanish. So you are eliminating 93% of the potential people to see your page, because you got it in Spanish. You can have it in Spanish, but put it also in English so that the guys that speak English will know what you're offering. You don't have enough content. Nobody's going to pay you $10 a month for 5 pictures and 1 video. It isn't going to happen. You have to have much more content. Have at least 125 pictures. Have at least 30 videos. They don't have to be with men. It can be solo videos. It's fine. But if you think you're just going to model some lingerie and the money's going to come rolling in, that's not going to happen. Men want to see the bits and pieces. They like lingerie, but they want to see what's under it. Because on my Instagram, I wear lingerie a lot. And the comments I get from the guys is, take it off. And it's like, you can't do that on Instagram, you fool. They're so weird sometimes. I just get so annoyed. I could just bitch slap them, because they don't think, And I tell them, you can always go to my OnlyFans if you want to see what I look like without the clothes. Oh, well, I don't want to have to pay. Well, then go without. It's perfectly okay with me. And so, I don't know. But a lot of people, yes, a lot of women are going to OnlyFans. Even men. I have men contact me, and they want to be on OnlyFans. And I tell them, you may not have much success because really women are not visual. And so you're not going to have too many women that are going, oh, boy, he's so hot and hunky. And boy, I'm going to pay $30 a month to look at him. You'll have gay men, and if you don't mind that, then go for it. But then you have to promote yourself, to gay men. Don't think you can promote yourself to women and have a lot of women that are going to sign up. It won't happen. And I hate to be the bearer of bad tidings, and they get kind of grumpy with me about that, as if like, I don't know what I'm talking about. And I say, well, I'm not stopping you. Go ahead. Do it. See what happens. The worst that'll happen is nothing. And a lot of them have come back and said, you were right. Yeah, well, I don't try to be right. I try to be helpful. I mean, I've even helped women get into escorting because I had no help. I had to learn that the hard way. And most escorts don't help other escorts because they see them as competition. And the irony there is I am not competition for a woman who's 22 years old because the men that want to see me are not going to want to see you. And the men that see you probably are not too interested in seeing me. Maybe a one-off just to see what it's like. You'd be surprised how many men want to fuck old pussy. What, you can tell the age? Really, get a couple of women in the room, blindfold the man, and have him go into each one and tell him which one is the old pussy. But, men, they think, well, because the rest of you is old, that part is probably old and loose. And it's like, well, I had my children's C-section. And then I didn't have sex for 12 years, so I'm real tight, even though I'm 72 years old. And the fact that I was an escort and have probably had sex with 10,000 men didn't make it loose. And they're stunned at that. I don't know what they think. If a baby comes out, it stretches you out, but then you snap back. And if you do the Kegels, then you're good as from the beginning. But, men can get some strange ideas. Well, women can too, but, basically I deal with men.
What I'm learning is that there's a type for every guy. There's a guy.
There is.
There's some guys like an older woman, some guys like young women, some guys like thick, some guys like skinny, some guys like tall, short, everything.
Yeah, it's really quite amazing. And if you have several women that are all within the same age group, because I've helped some women that are in their 50s and 60s, and they're all considered gilfs, grandmothers you'd love to fuck. And you line them all up, the guys that like one are not necessarily going to like the other just because they're within the same age. The age has something to do with it, but the attractiveness is something else. Like I have one gal that I've helped quite a bit. She actually lives in Bulgaria. She lives in Bulgaria. That's why it went out of my head. Who lives in Bulgaria? But she and her boyfriend have an OnlyFans page. And she is just a little bit younger than me. And I help them get started. And sometimes on OnlyFans, I will promote her page on my page. And most of the time, if I get comments on that from my fans, they're like, she's nice, but you're better. And so even though we're both gilfs, and even though we both have OnlyFans, not every man is attracted to both of us. But I do what I can to promote her, for her to have extra money. And she's been pretty successful at it. Not as successful as me, but, she doesn't look like me either.
What would you say is the most important thing you've learned in your
To be
life?
tolerant. And sometimes I'm not. But I have to be really tolerant because sometimes I get requests for personal content, like a private video, that is offensive to me, something I really, in my regular life, would be offended by. But the bottom line is, if they're willing to pay for it, and it's not harmful to me, generally speaking, I'll do it. I don't understand it. I don't understand guys that want pee and poop videos. I don't get that. Don't get it at all. But I have them. And I didn't have any trouble making them. It's something we do every day. Well, not videotape it, but And I think that the hardest thing for me is people that want me to do a role play. Like, oh, God, one guy, he wanted me to film a video with my son. And I told him, you are out of your rabbit-ass mind. I'm not doing it. I would never do something like that. That is absolutely inappropriate. And he didn't think he'd ask for anything weird. And it's like, just because I'm a sex worker does not mean that I'm just going to, go off and do anything. If somebody wanted me to fuck a dog, no. I don't go out of my species. No. And so, yeah, it can be challenging. So you have to be tolerant, basically, as best you can be. And you have to give them what they want to a point. Like recently I had somebody that contacted me and wanted me to do a video where I walk into the room and he's rifling through my underwear drawer and he's got a thong in his hand. And so I catch him at it and I tell him, put it on. And then once he has it on, I tell him to turn around. And then I grab it and I give him a wedgie. And I'm thinking, that would require you to be here for me to make that video. Otherwise, all I'm doing is verbalizing your fantasy. And nobody's going to pay me $150 just to verbalize their fantasy. And so you have to realize when you ask for something, it has to be able to be physically done. You can't just... Fantasies are great, and if you can do them the way that the guy wants, that's wonderful. But I know years ago when I was an escort in San Diego, I had a guy that had a whole big fantasy he wanted to happen for the session, starting with me greeting him outside and I'm wearing a particular outfit. And then we get into the bedroom and suddenly I have on negligee. And so I write back to him, because we were doing this over email, and I said, when did I change into the negligee? I mean, I greet you at the car and I'm wearing such and such. And then we walk 50 feet and suddenly I have on a negligee. How did that happen? Well, in my fantasy, and I said, see, in your fantasy, you can make things happen just like that. But in reality, it means you'd have to come into my bedroom, I'd have to go get the thing on and put it on, and then we'd have to continue. There's this break through each of the different stages of this fantasy of yours. And he goes, oh, I never thought of that. Well, you got to think of that, because that will ruin your fantasy. You'll never have that one again.
How long do you think you'll be doing OnlyFans?
I will be doing OnlyFans until such time as my mortgage is paid off and I have enough money in the bank that I don't have to worry about starvation. So possibly I'll be 100. I'll be the oldest lady on OnlyFans. Actually, there's a lady that's older than me that's on OnlyFans. I think she's 88.
Really?
Yeah. I'll have to look her up, because someone that did a podcast on me had also done one on her. So I looked her up, and she's only got like 5 fans. But she's like 86 or 88. She lives in New York. She has a real funky apartment.
Wow.
And so, yeah, as long as the men are paying to see me, I will continue to pose and dance and do all the things that I do, to keep them interested in me.
All right, Michelle, thank you for sharing your story.
Anytime.
I wish you
You can ask me back and I'll come.
a long, happy career.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.